to the sidelines. Has a man wide open. It's tipped. It's picked off. MJ Devonshire got face. He's going to take it to the end zone. Pittsburgh takes the lead.
He loves those moments. It reminds me of last year in the Garden against St. John's. And guys just stepped up. Blake hits a what the hell three. You know, we're like, what are you doing? And he's done that all year.
Klicka out to Bizzario. It's over. The Pitt Panthers have upset Wisconsin. Anybody if he hits his field goal. Up and got it. Sauls does it again.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Simplify Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky, and I'm joined today by a very special guest, friend of the show, Kale Lund, former All-American outside hitter for Pitt Volleyball from 2017 to 2021. Some cool counting stats: number 2 in Pitt history in service aces, number 4 in kills, number 8 in digs. One of 7 players to have over 1,000 kills and digs in their career. 2-time ACC Player of the Year. Played professionally in for Neuchâtel in Switzerland. Is now commentating games for ACC Network and is finally set to play for the Columbus Fury for the first professional volleyball league in the United States. And we'll get to all of that. But before any of that, how are you doing tonight?
Good. Thanks for having me on. I love joining you guys, and you're awesome. And thank you for the very nice intro there.
It's a lot of fun having you on every time. And I guess we'll get right to it. We're obviously recording after the season, so Pitt has just won yet another ACC title, this time shared with Florida State. I don't know the record offhand, but just kind of at this point, the season we expect, and some awards to go through. First, you got Rachel Fairbanks, who's the setter of the year in the conference, all ACC first team. You have Olivia Babcock, who's the freshman of the year, as well as all freshman first team. Tori Stafford, all freshman first team. Then on the all ACC second team, Chiamaka Nwokolo, Emma Monks, Valeria Vasquez Gomez, and Emmy Klicka.
Yeah. Love it. So literally our entire starting lineup is on the ACC team, which is crazy. I honestly don't know if that's ever happened before I'm pretty sure it's never happened in ACC. I don't know if it's ever happened in any other conference when your entire lineup is and gets recognized, which I think as playing for Pitt, I feel like we always felt like every single player deserved to be recognized because we've had so many really good players throughout the year. And we've definitely felt like in the past, some players have gotten gypped and not been given the recognition that they deserve. So when we saw this came out, I got personally super excited for all the girls. Because, I mean, I do think their numbers are so worthy of it. But, you know, it is hard giving all ACC teams or all conference recognition to so many from the same team. So I get it. So, but I feel like everybody's numbers were just so good this year to where, like, the ACC conference staff, whoever decides this, or coaches, I know also vote. Like, our numbers were just too good to where, like, people were like, yep, all right, we don't care how many Pitt people are on there. Like, all these girls are very deserving. So I'm excited for all of them. I think the coolest one, there are a couple of cool ones. Obviously, our freshmen are amazing. I'm sure we'll talk about them plenty. Rachel's an unbelievable setter, and I feel like this has been she's obviously had amazing years in the past, but I feel like this season has really been a breakout career year for her. Valeria's been good. We know that she can do it all, but I think our coolest ones are Chiamaka getting recognition that she deserves, because she's always been like an recognized player. Like, she's so special to this team, and she does so many things that a lot of people don't realize, not just with like her leadership ability, but also she gets so many block touches, which that does not get like statted, or that doesn't go into like cool number stats, things like that. Yeah. She makes really small ball plays as a middle, and she's just steady. Like, she's so steady. So she's somebody that is very deserving of this. And then Emma Monks, I mean, she's like come out of nowhere and has been so good. And from the point of when she got here in the summer to where she is now is unbelievable. So it's been super cool to watch her progress in such like a fast amount of time to the player that she is. I mean, at the beginning of the season, she wasn't even supposed to be one of the starters because we had Bree Kelly who transferred in, and she is one of the best middles in the country
Yeah.
who broke her ankle. So Emma Monks came in, transferred in thinking like, am I like going to fight? I'm going to have to fight for this spot. And now just came from not knowing what her spot would be to being one of the best middles in the country. So proud of her. And then I'm super proud of Emmy. She's a libero that also kind of like Chiamaka kind of goes under the radar with like recognition and things like that. And I was actually talking to Fish, and she's one of the best passers in the country, but her digging numbers aren't typically as high as other liberos, but that's because our block is so good. And also because we get kills at such a higher percentage and rate than other teams do. So she actually just doesn't have the opportunity to dig as many balls. And so like her digs per set aren't as high as other liberos. And so sometimes she can go under the radar. And it's not because she's bad at digging. She's an amazing digger. Our style of game just doesn't give her that many opportunities to do so. So I love Emmy. She's the hardest worker in our gym, without a doubt. There's no question that anybody works harder than that girl. So I'm super proud of her, and she deserves. They all deserve all the recognition. So it's super cool.
Yeah, it is a funny thing where like all the players are so good, but they do have to give some awards to the other teams.
Yeah.
Like I know Florida State got their coach of the year deservedly because they did win the conference when they weren't expected to.
Yep.
Was De Beer player of the year?
Yeah.
Forget.
She was
player of the year.
She was co-player of the year. Oh my God, I love it. She was co-player of the year along with an outside hitter from Florida State.
Got you. Okay.
Yep.
And then, but like, so I want to kind of touch on these players individually first, and I'll just start from the end where we ended off with Emmy Klicka. And you said she was like very much underappreciated, and you said the counting numbers. And the thing is, like, when you watch her play, like I was able to watch a lot of games earlier in the season when they weren't on the extra ACC network.
Yeah.
And those games against Kentucky, like the digs she made were just fantastic. Like she's a player that gets all over the court and is like, if she's within range of the ball, you're always confident that she's going to be able to get it in the air. And then one thing is, playing in the ACC, which is obviously a much better conference since the time you got here at Pitt.
For sure.
I'm blanking on her name. Who's the libero from Louisville that won Defensive Player of the Year?
Elena Scott.
I follow this one account with like all the advanced stats for volleyball.
Oh,
and like,
yeah.
She's like I think it's called like Volley Nerd or whatever, but she's like the number one rated defensive player, like 99th percentile. And then Emmy's like 91. But it's just so happens you play in the same conference and your rivals with like one of the best liberos like in the game.
Yeah. Elena Scott she's really talented. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm correct, that she was recruited as a possible setter, which is even crazier to think about, that she was recruited into Louisville to possibly set, and then was also just an amazing defender. And so they switched her over to the left side, and here she is, truly one of the best liberos like of our time. She's a lot of fun to play against and watch play. So yeah, to then have Emmy like right there next to her is also super cool. And Emmy's a great person, and she's such a sweetheart, and she truly she has worked everything that she has earned and all the success that Pitt has had. Like she's worked her butt off for it. So it's cool to watch it pay off.
Yeah. Next note I have is Emma Monks. So sort of, if recency bias, but Big Ten players who transfer to Pitt tend to do very well, with Courtney Bazzario coming before her. Like you said, the Bree Kelly injury early in the season kind of thrust her into a starting role, but her like defensive presence, like the amount of blocks she gets, and like you said, Pitt blocks a ton of hits, I guess. but like her alone is just she's a menace up front.
She is. She has been so cool. Like I mentioned before, like she has gotten so good at such a rapid rate. And there is just something about transfers coming into Pitt and just like taking off. Serena Gray was another one. Yeah,
Hmm.
obviously Courtney. It's honestly mind-boggling. And honestly, I think they have such cool stories because maybe they've come off of programs that um like they just weren't the happiest there. And so they come into our program and all of a sudden like fall in love with the game of volleyball again and start enjoying it again and enjoy the people around them. And like you just see how good they get just because like they're enjoying it again and they like actually want to be at practices and they're loving it. And so I think that's such a big piece of why like our transfers take off. I know that they're in better spots mentally. And then the other half is obviously just like the coaching staff. Just I think I think they just I don't know how they break through so fast to transfers because it is hard to break through to transfers because you come with all that honestly, you come with, like, baggage, and
Hmm.
it's not your fault, it's not the other program's fault, it's you're older, you have developed ways, and so it's hard once you're kind of older and in those ways to have to try to change some, but any transfer that's come in has come in with a really open mind and, like, a really strong desire to learn and to get better and to compete and play again. And that's exactly like what Emma has done. So her block is disgusting. It's so disgusting to go up against. And I still like train with the girls and um I hate going up against her because she makes really great moves and she's able to make good recovery moves as well. And so her block has definitely been like a very pleasant addition for the pit squad for sure.
So when you talk about the coaching staff, like with regard to transfers, right? Do you think that it's a like obviously they have to buy into it to the pit system, but
Mhm.
also like do you think they kind of find players that maybe aren't being used right at other schools and then bring them in and say like, you know, Emma has sort of become this blocking specialist where they find someone who is really good at one thing. I mean,
Yep.
not just one thing, but like if they have an absurd talent like her disgusting block, they're just going to be
Yeah.
like, okay, you're going to go block a ton of hits now.
Yep. Absolutely. They for sure see players that, yeah, are really good in one area. And I think it kind of frustrates them that they see these players that are so good in one area. And it frustrates them because they're like, "Oh my gosh, this could be one of the best players in the country if they just develop in this other area or this area, et cetera." And so then when they get those players in, I know it's a lot of fun for them because they then get to train that other area up more and just like Lek when Lek came in,
Mhm.
just like the same thing, like the rapid growth that these girls have had when they've come in, um, really just because of the coaching staff and like their techniques, their attitudes, everything is really cool. Just to, I feel like, yeah, finally see these players, these amazing athletes and players, like just used to their full potential. And I shouldn't even say full potential because like sky's the limit for them, but
Right,
maybe
right.
like full potential for the time being, like or like they're just going to continue to get better, but more of their full potential, I guess is the way to put it.
Right. I think a good way to say it is like they're maximizing their skill set
Yes.
in
Yeah,
in like just telling them when and where to do it. And then, you know,
exactly.
we said we get to them earlier, the two freshmen, Olivia Babcock and Tori Stafford. I don't even know how much praise I can give them. They're both menaces. They're menaces hitting the ball. They are disgusting on the serving line. And oh yeah, they're true freshmen.
It's it's insane. We, throughout the years at Pitt, when we get recruits and transfers and everything, and we meet them, and everybody's so nice. And then coaches will have us watch some film on them and say, "What do you think? Like,
Mhm.
are they going to be able to make it here? And we're always like, yeah, come on. Like, of course they can. Like, you recruited, they recruited us, who at the time in high school, like, we were nobodies, and now we're getting top recruits. Like, duh. And they'll show us clips of them just like bouncing balls, and they're like, she's going to be pretty good, huh? We're like, they're already really good. But there's always that, like, okay, are they going to live up to the hype? What are they going to be like in the practice gym? Are they going to come in, like guns ablazing for our spots, or whatever? Like, you never know. And so, I think they have lived up to their expectation times 10.
Yeah.
And they have also been similar to like how I was talking about Monks, just how good she's gotten so fast. These girls have just gotten so good so fast. And they came in already unbelievable, but kind of same thing. Like, they're already so good, and then they get really good training, and it's just like full. They're just so good in so many places. So, they're I think there's so many things that's most impressive to me about them. But a lot of, I love watching them attack. Like, they're so fun to watch because they just soar. They just fly. They're above everybody. And so just watching them go and like have free reign and free vision to hit wherever they want and do whatever they want, is super fun. So that's like a really exciting part of the game. I love that they both are really good defenders, because a lot of times you see really athletic hitters, like Olivia's 6'5". So typically you see like a 6'5" girl then maybe being a little awkward in defense or in the back row. She has worked very hard on her defense and like being steady and things like that, and has become a really great right back defender. And that's why we're able to do the 5-1, because she can play in the back row, which is like what you see for right sides in professional level. Like, you don't see 6'2s run at the pro level because there aren't as many subs. And so Liv is already playing like a pro right side, which is sick. And then Tori can pass. Tori's been targeted passing wise as a freshman passer. Of course, like, people are going to target her, and she has been targeted, and she's just been handling it like no big deal. They both have the mindset to be national champions for sure. If this freshman class, not even just them two, but the other two freshmen, Blair and High T, that have gotten in a little bit, our lineup is just so stacked this year. Those four, I think, will take this team to a national championship without a doubt. Whether it's this year or any other years that they're there, I would be shocked if those girls don't win a national championship. They have the mindset to do it. They're humble as well, which is insane for how good they are, and how much praise they have been given their whole lives. They've still stayed humble, and they work hard, and they're really good people on top of it. I don't know how they've won the human being lottery of being like the best athletes ever, and also like the sweetest girls. So they're awesome people in additions to this team.
Okay, so before we talk tournament, because you obviously mentioned national title, we'll get there. In your eyes, obviously you were on the first Final Four team.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is like? How does this team? How is it similar and how is it different from that 2021 team?
Ooh, yeah. Similar would be, I think, the mindset. I think by the time that we made it to the Final Four, like, we were ready. We had never done anything like that before. So, and we had been upset in the years past. But like, by the time that we made it to the Final Four, we kind of felt like, okay, yeah, this is our time. Like, this is where we should be. Whereas I think if we had made it in the years prior, even though I think that we could have made it, I think it would have been like more of a freak out. It would have been, going from barely making the tournament to the year before I was a freshman to then all of a sudden like in the top, which I think that just would have been crazy. And I don't think we would have mentally been really at our fullest then. So by the time we got to the Final Four, we were like, yeah, we absolutely should be here. This feels right. There's no way that we should not be here. And at that point, we also felt like we can win this national championship. Like, and we talked about it and we talked about winning it. Whereas in years previous, it was like, all right, let's try to win the ACC again. And then let's try to go far in the tournament. But then as years went on, it was like, yeah, like we can win this national championship. And it was normal for that to be in discussion. So that's, I think, what's normal for this team is they have a very clear goal of winning the national championship and they have the mindset to do it. I think what's different is every year I think that Pitt has amazing depth, but this team has the most depth I've ever seen. And they honestly are just probably more talented than us to be than we were at that point.
Right.
Like they are really, really talented players. And so like I think they just have all of the pieces. Like there's really not, I mean, you see it with the all ACC like selection, you know, like they have every single person is one of the best players in the country. So I think that I just think they're all around like honestly a more talented group. They're so steady and as a group they mesh really well. And they're a lot of fun to watch. I think that would be my answer.
Yeah. So how I would read that is like obviously like the team in 2021 was very good. I'm not trying to like disparage that, but like obviously like you said, like Tori and Olivia were very highly recruited players or rated players out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And while the 2021 team, you had the mentality of we can do it, it still might have had that like Cinderella feeling where it's like we had an upset, we're like quote unquote not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And now it's like we're the now the target's on our back.
Yep. For sure.
And so let's talk about the teams that have a target on our back. So,
Yes.
number 1 overall seed, the road to the Final Four goes through Pittsburgh.
Heck yeah.
Let's start off with the first 4. First game is against Coppin State. That is on Friday at 7 o'clock. And
Yep.
then the second round is Saturday at 7 o'clock against the winner of UMBC and Southern California.
Yep. A crazy grouping. Mostly I'll talk. Oh, well, actually let's start from the beginning. Let me not jump the gun here.
Okay.
So Coppin State will be really cool. It's their first time ever making the tournament after they won their conference. And so that's I think just a really cool match for them. And so to be a part of like any kind of history is special. And also Tori Stafford's older sister plays for Coppin State. So we got some familial ties. So that'll be special. I actually don't know if Tori's quite looking forward to that as much as like one would think, because playing anybody that you know and love in the tournament and like ending their season is not fun. And so I think that they probably wish that it was a preseason matchup between sisters, you know, for their sake. But either way, I think I think it's a great, you know, thing for their family and their parents will love it. Their parents don't have to pick who to go, you know, and cheer for. Like they don't have to go to Coppin State and miss Tori's game. So that'll be really special. And then the UMBC in Southern California, Pitt played UMBC earlier in this year. And so if and they took, oh gosh, UMBC played in one of our Pitt tournaments at the beginning of the year. And I think it was the one that BYU was at, or a top ranked.
BYU was that was the one out in Montana.
Oh yeah. It was somebody came to Pitt. And maybe it was Oregon. Oh, I think it was Oregon. And I think UMBC like took a set off or took Oregon to 5 or something. I think UMBC did something and we were like, ooh, okay, like no, very noted UMBC.
Okay. I'm trying to pull up the schedule here as fast as I can.
Right. It was preseason, so I think August.
Kentucky, Oregon. Oh, it was JMU played Oregon.
Oh, dang it. Was it JMU that took him to 5 or 4?
I think it was JMU that took them to 5
Yeah.
because we swept UMBC in late September before conference play.
Okay.
Oops.
Oh, bummer. Just kidding then. I was really hyped. I was really ready to hype UMBC up. But UMBC is still a great squad. We've played them a decent amount of times in like preseason and I think once in postseason as well. Um, they're a fun team to play because they have like a lot to kind of prove and they play
Mhm.
like that. And so they always have a really good fight. And also one of Kellen, our assistant coach's really close friends, is now their head coach, Casey, and he's awesome. Casey came from Miami. He was assistant coach at Miami, and now he's head coach at UMBC. So that's fun for the coaches to get to play against one of their friends. And then Southern California. This I think is crazy. I think it's crazy. The NCAA tournament has never shipped anybody this far for matches. The NCAA
Oh.
typically what they do, I mean, I shouldn't say never. They might have, but typically what they do is you play who's closest to you because the NCAA pays for all travel during NCAA tournament. And
Mhm.
so to save money, they are going to want to bus teams out to each other instead of chartering teams out to each other. It just makes sense. And so they always try to send who's closest via bus or closest like plane ride. So, or at least just closer. And so them sending like Pepperdine around, well, I guess Pepperdine's going up to Washington, huh? But just sending USC over here is I was very shocked. And they're a team that is honestly is scary and they they have what it takes to go far and all that they need is to have like their team that they just need to play the best that they have ever played in one game to beat Pitt, you know?
Mhm.
So that's what kind of makes them scary. Obviously Skylar Fields is one of the best players in the country. Um and so with her on the outside, like she can do absolutely anything. She's having an amazing year and I I think if they she could potentially, even if Pitt beats them, when Pitt beats them, like be a first team All American without even like making it past the second round. She's good. So and she's played at Texas, so she has like the tournament swag and she
Mhm.
has the tournament knowledge, so she knows. But if Pitt just plays like they're all around good, I don't see them beating Pitt. So
You
I
also got to count. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I Pitt just needs to take care of like just worry about their game, slow Skylar down a little bit, and I think that it'll go Pitt's way.
Yeah, and you also can't discount that they're playing in the Pete. I mean, the crowd for the Louisville game, which we're going to talk about, that's its own bullet point. Don't worry, everybody. But
Yeah.
that the crowd's going to be electric. Now, obviously, the other rounds, the Sweet 16 Elite are going to be played in the Fits because of, I believe, of basketball conflicts using the Pete.
Mhm.
But let's talk about some of these other teams. I guess where do you want to start? I kind of want to hit Louisville last because they're the big bad. I think it's
Yeah.
before we even talk about it, it's insane. They put us in the same corner of the bracket. Um, they're making the rivalry real.
Yeah. Fully. Fully. It's insane. I can't believe I mean, I can, but it just is I think the NCAA just likes the drama of it.
Mhm.
Like, fair enough, it brings in a lot of people and people love to watch it, but I do just think that they, like, enjoy the drama of the Louisville and Pitt. I also think that the tournament went, a lot based off of, like, Pitt would be 4 and Louisville would be 5. So I
Mhm.
think they kind of were just I don't know, I just think that the way that the rankings went, they just were like, "Yep, we're just gonna send" we're going to send them back to Pitt, which in that case, if we were going to play each other, I'm glad that Louisville has to come to Pitt and that Pitt doesn't come to Louisville. Like
For sure,
I'm really happy about that. And I do think that playing in that arena will really help give Pitt the benefit. So I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be feisty. I think that they will go at it with each other. So I'm excited for that. Obviously, there's a lot of history and bad blood. I shouldn't say bad blood. There's been a lot of like competitive respect with each other. However, this past game got feisty. It did. It got way feistier than like I was expecting it to. There was a lot of crap talking through the net. I was shocked that there were no yellow cards, and I also thought that there would be a red card, to be honest. There was names getting thrown through the net, which I love. I love some smack talk. I can't lie. Volleyball needs more of it. The sport needs more of it. You're allowed to do crazy things in like every single other sport. So I'm very happy that volleyball is kind of starting to like be let go with some smack talking. But the girls were definitely going at it with each other. So yeah, I'm excited for the girls. The matchup is just going to be insane.
So on the smack talk note, if
Yeah.
you were to mic up like a volleyball player, like doing like baseball or whatever, how much of a delay would you have to put it on so that you could air the broadcast?
Right. A decent amount, and maybe not so much of a delay for the smack talking, but probably for like bad language. Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, I mean, it happens so fast, and so you kind of have to react really fast. Whereas I think a lot of other sports, maybe beside like basketball is also pretty fast, but like when you're watching football, soccer, etc., like they can all make a mistake and maybe even like come off the field and react, or soccer, it goes somewhere else and you can react. Like volleyball, you kind of, and we like a lot of teams have like coaches call it like a 3-second rule, where you can be like super pissed off for 3 seconds and then you have to move on.
Yep.
So I think a lot of us will sometimes like, if you see us pulling our jerseys up in front of our mouth, you know that we're not saying good things at all.
Okay.
So you know that that's definitely what's happening there. And then I would say for like as much smack talk, if there's going to be a delay, it doesn't happen that often. But in that Louisville game, you would have needed a bit of a delay. The girls were talking.
Yeah. So are there any other teams like besides Louisville? I mean, we know Louisville. We know that they're going to give us their best shot. We're going to give them our best shot. Like Utah State, Creighton, Washington State, Dayton, and Auburn are the other seeded teams in the region. Are there any, like, if you had to pick one team, like who might be the second most dangerous behind Louisville?
Yeah. I mean, I can't lie. It is a tough, it's kind of a chaotic bracket in the fact that a lot of the teams could be upset. Like Minnesota isn't having a great year, but they have a lot of pieces and a lot of girls that have been into the tournament. And Keegan he's the new coach there. He came from Washington and he's a great coach. So Minnesota could surprise some people. Creighton, I think, can really do something. And Washington State also like those 3 teams are like some of the best teams in the country. Also Auburn, like they've had a good year as well. But I think Minnesota would maybe be the sleeper because they're not like ranked on.
Yeah, they're not seeded, right?
On here. But I feel like they could maybe be a sleeper. And maybe that's just because like when I played, they were one of the best. And so I'm just kind of used to that. But they have I haven't watched them enough this year either, but like the girls that they have gone deep into the tournament. So I don't know what has been missing for them this year to where they have fallen a bit, but like they have a great setter, Melanie Schaffmaster, who's been there years. They got a libero transfer, Kylie Murr. Their outside Taylor Landfair was an All-American, I think, last year. So I'm not sure what's happening in their middle position, right side position anymore, but those could be the pieces. But they could shock. They could make a run. Um, Creighton is always steady. They have a great coach as well. She's amazing. And they're always a steady team. Like they're always in the conversation.
Mhm.
And then Washington State has had a good year as well. So I think those three who would be the ones that I would kind of keep my eye out for.
Yeah, I mean Minnesota, you can always say like they were always tested in Big Ten play, going up
Yeah.
against some of the biggest schools, and then Washington State, Juliana Dalton's a transfer from there,
Yeah.
right?
Yep, she
Okay,
is. And she was, if I am not mistaken, I believe she was the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year when she was there. And then,
okay.
yeah, and then took a year off, and then COVID happened.
Hmm.
Or she transferred here and then COVID happened, but and she's been, unfortunately, like last year she dealt with injuries and stuff. But yeah, she transferred in from there. So that could be interesting for her if we end up matching up against them. Having them come here would be kind of interesting.
That's a jet lag game. I'm looking around the bracket here. They really did some mean stuff with these 1 and 2 seeds. You got Nebraska and Kentucky in the top left, which
Yeah.
is Oregon, Wisconsin, top right. Bottom right might be the most insane pairing of teams with Texas and Stanford.
It's Isn't that crazy? Because Texas has dropped down in the rankings a little bit this year, but they're national champions. And so when you think that you have like one of the top teams going off against the past national champions, like it sounds crazy. And they just won their conference. Of course, they won their conference. But like no surprise. But like yeah, that sounds chaotic. The whole bracket is very chaotic to me. Um like when it all came out, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot." So,
Yeah, I mean, just I think with at least with the 1 and 2 seeds, they're looking for at least planning for matchups that will bring the eyes to the television, which a good call.
yes.
Um, I don't have anything else on the bracket, but going back to Louisville, so before they beat them in the Pete, I believe it was a week and a half ago now,
Mhm.
like they had lost three straight to them dating back to last season. Like, how big is it to get that monkey off the back and then also to do it in a reverse sweep with the biggest crowd in history going insane? Like, and you were in the building, right? You were commentating this game.
Yeah. So I was down on the court commentating, which was sick. I'm so glad that they put us down on the court because at the field house we're kind of up above the stands and watching
Okay.
like down below. But at the Pete, they're like up above like arena or like news arena is kind of too high up. And so for the Pete, they have us down on the court, which I love because you get to like be a part of the energy. Like I'm
Mm.
right there with the girls. I can hear them talking. I can hear coach. I'm watching. You get to be way more into it. And that was probably one of like the coolest volleyball experiences, including like when I have played and like all my pro games and all of that. Like that has to be one of the top like volleyball experiences that I have been at. Probably probably the number one game that I've been at as a fan and like watching, but just like in general ever been a part of that one's definitely up there. Um it was so cool and I think it was so special because like I've seen our program have 5 people in the stands and it only being like parents watching a game. So to go from that, like when I was being recruited to seeing that, and I didn't even care, which is funny enough to even think about that. Like at some point I didn't even care like that there were only 10 people in the stands. Like I just wanted to play to now, um, to now being like, no, like we have to break this attendance record is like
Yeah.
kind of crazy. And so just to be at that match and like get to see everybody. I mean, at the Pete was packed. It really was. Like even the top brim had people in it, which we had never had a game. Normally we've only been able to like kind of fill up the lower bowl.
Right.
And which the lower bowl is, I think, Chris Hoppy, our assistant AD, told us. I think the lower bowl is like 7,800, which is still amazing. But I think
Right. That's
on
double the field house.
yeah, it's yeah, like double. And then I think with the top, I think the Pete fits like 10 or 11,000. I could be wrong on that.
I'm gonna double check
Okay.
that.
But we started getting people up there, which was so cool to see that many people were coming like in Pittsburgh to the field house. And the crazy part was that it was Thanksgiving and students weren't even there. There were no students.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine, and I'm hoping that everybody comes back out for these tournament games, because like I would just love to see the energy change as well, adding students in and having them like go crazy, because the pit fan, like the fans and the regular people were very into it, which was so cool to see. So to also then add like super like students that love it, that'll be super fun as well. So such a cool moment. I got emotional for sure. I was just glad to be a part of it, and I got goosebumps watching it. And the fact that we won was just the cherry on top. Yeah, going back and forth with Louisville. I think also a crazy stat, which isn't my favorite stat, but I think the past like 7 times that Pitt and Louisville have played each other, Louisville has won like 6 of the times or something. Which, yeah, it's pretty much just like the past year they had won a bunch, I think. Um
Well,
Actually,
if
and my senior year, they beat us both times. The first time we were there, it went to 5, and then the second time when they came to us, I was hurt, and they beat us then too.
it would be 5 of 7 because
Okay. I like that better. That sounds better.
yeah, because okay, 2 year senior year, we
Mhm.
won the first one in 22,
Sweet.
lost the second game, lost in the tournament, lost them earlier this year, and then beat the 5 out of 7.
Okay. So that's a way better stat. That sounds good. But still, like, they honestly had the edge over us for the past year. And yeah, and then there was just some smack talking and stuff, and there was a little bit of like drama before the match as well. So then to have the win on top of that was really cool. And I have always respected Louisville as an opponent. I've known like girls that were my year, we knew each other. We would like say hi before or after the game if we could just like do a quick hi. Um I have always really respected their program. I think we've needed each other in the ACC, because then tournament time comes. And yeah, like if your conference hasn't been doing that well and you go into the tournament, it's really hard to go into the tournament without having like past tough games. So we've needed each other. We've needed to put ACC on the map together. Um,
Mhm.
and we've needed kind of this like competitive rivalry back and forth. So I think they're a great team. I don't know if there's any beef now with the current players. There might be, but I can only say like I always had a lot of respect for them and like the program and like the history that they've made in the ACC and in general. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like you mentioned, having Louisville as the counterpart to Pitt, if it was just them, you could argue that Pitt probably wouldn't have a 1 seed in this
Yeah.
year's tournament.
Yep.
But now you've got teams like Georgia Tech, like Florida State. I believe I don't have the tournament frame. It was either Wake Forest or Miami that made it. Like
Miami.
Miami, thank you.
Yep.
Um, Having 5 teams now that are in the tournament, that helped us get to that 1 seed. And then
Absolutely.
in terms of capacity, the crowd was something like 8,800 people, right?
Sweet.
Something around
Mhm.
there.
Yeah, I think it ended up being 88 or 89.
Yeah. So the capacity, um, I'm assuming that's the same as basketball, which is 12,000. That's 2/3 of the crowd. If you get the students there, you could sell out the Pete. So if you're a student listening to this podcast,
Yes.
go to the Pete. If
Yes.
I was still in Pittsburgh, I'd be there. Unfortunately, I live 4 hours away.
Pack the Pete.
Pack the motherfucking Pete.
Yes.
Now, about commentating. So
Mhm.
you started commentating this year.
Mhm.
So first off, how did that come about? I'm just interested in how they got you on the mic there.
So, kind of a funny story. When I got back from being overseas with my pro season, I first came back to Pittsburgh before I flew home to California. I stopped for like a week and a half to be with Demetrius. And when I was here, one of our social media like Pitt Athletics social media person, her name is Casey and she's awesome. She randomly reached out to the coaching staff for a video idea and they wanted me to like talk on it.
Okay.
And I just so happened that when that came about that I was in town that week. And so she texted me and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I just heard that you're here. Can you come in and do some media for us?" And I was like, "Of course." And so I recorded a video for them that they use as like one of their hype videos for recruits. It's called like the Dan Fisher era video. And so I did like the voiceover of that. And that day, when I was working with Casey, we were just chatting and catching up. And she's like, "What are you going to do?" And at that point, I hadn't decided what I was going to do for my next pro season. So I told her, I was like, "There's a chance I might be back here in Pittsburgh, da da da." And she's like, "Oh my gosh." She's like, "Well, if you are in Pittsburgh in the fall, we should have you like get on a broadcast and announce a game." And she kind of said it. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, that would be so good." Kind of just thinking she was just joking around and like being nice and conversation. Casey's so sweet. Like she's awesome. So I thought that's what I thought was happening. And then, once like summer kind of happened and probably like a couple months go by. And by this time I had signed with Columbus. So I knew that I was going to be back in Pittsburgh. I think it was Jason Earl who actually reached out first, who I've known for a couple years. And now he went to Pitt and was friends with some of my older teammates and is now working with Pitt Studios and in Pitt Athletics. He then sent me an email. He was like, "Hey, we would actually very seriously like to have you announce a couple games if you're interested, like if that's something that you would even want to do." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, this is like, I really just thought it was a joke." Or that maybe like they would just have me come and like say hi and just like, "I'm here at the games, like just come on for a couple minutes and then like go back to watching the game." So when I saw the email, I was like, "Oh my gosh." Funny enough, my mom growing up, we're a huge sports family. We have football going on every single day in the house. Like sports are just always on. And both my parents were athletes, so sports are always on. And so whenever we were watching and there was a girl like announcing on ESPN or anything, my mom was always, or commentating anything, my mom was like, "Kayla, like I could see you doing that. Like I could totally see you doing that. Like you love sports, you know a lot about sports." And I'm like a sports person. I also like I care a lot about like who they're dating and like stuff like that. Like I like to know like, oh my God, were their parents at the game? Do they have siblings? Like that's what I like to know. Like I like to do all the deep diving. So my mom was like, "Oh my God, you would be like," I always go and stalk all the players, things like that.
So are you a big like Travis and Taylor
I
person?
actually am, which is funny. Yeah, I am. I'm not like the biggest T Swizzle fan. Like I like Taylor, I like T Swift, I like my girl. Like you can't not like her. You have to respect her. You have to. I'm
Fair
not like
enough.
the like a diehard fan. And so when it first came out, like I'm way more of a Travis fan. I love Travis Kelce and I respect him
Okay.
so hard and I love his game. So when that first came out, oh, also sorry, we're going off on such a tangent, but
So please go ahead. I'm having a lot of fun here.
okay, perfect. I also loved Travis and his ex-girlfriend's name is Kayla, and they were a beautiful couple. They were a beautiful, Kayla and Nicole, they were a beautiful couple. So I was very disappointed, one, when they broke up. And then once I saw him moving, I always thought that they were going to get back together. So when I saw that he had moved on to Taylor Swift, I was like, there's no way. I didn't believe it. I was like, this is for show. There's no way. And now, obviously, like, it has since proven me wrong. So now I do like them, and all the videos are really cute. And so I do like them now. I can't lie. I do. So, and as long as like I like him as a player, so if he plays well while they're together, I'll be fine with it. But
I mean, I
yeah.
was on the same boat. I was like, this is a publicity stunt.
Yes.
The NFL is trying to market it, and then it's still happening. So I kind of, I haven't deleted the tweets yet.
Okay.
Might have to search my name. But okay,
Yes.
back on track. We were talking about.
Sorry.
Okay, your mom was like, you could do this.
Yes. So my mom was like, I should do this. So then when I told them about it, I told Meech about it and everything, I was like, I think I want to do this. Like, just for fun, at least do one game and see what I think. And so I responded, I was like, yeah, what, like, can you give me some more information? What would I be doing? All the things. So Jason sent me back a long thing about everything that I would be doing, all the stuff. And so we started off me agreeing to just 2 games, I think. And the first one I did with Jeff and Amanda. The first one was the Oregon game, the Oregon match. So that was kind of an insane first match to be commentating on because it was such a crazy game. But after like after the first match or the first set, maybe even the second set, like I finally felt like I got comfortable and like found my footing on where to talk and what like useful information I can put in and just things like that. And now I'm loving it. So after those first 2 games, they very kindly asked me if I would want to do any more this year. If they had like a couple last minute openings, because for the most part, they try to like have everybody set earlier on so that like people know when they're working, because this is like their job.
Yeah.
So there were a couple more openings that I could jump in on. And so I agreed to those ones. And now that the tournament's starting, and the Louisville game was a cool add-on because they added in radio. And so I was on radio for that one, which is cool. The first ever radio game was against Georgia Tech this season. So that was the second one ever. And so it's just cool that now volleyball you can listen on the radio. And yeah, and then they asked me to jump on for these NCAA games, which I'm super excited about. I think that'll be super cool. So I thought it all started as a joke, and then now I'm loving it, and I'm really grateful for the Pitt broadcasting crew. They have helped me a lot, and like any questions I have had, like they have happily answered. They've helped me. And they've been a really fun group to kind of jump in and work with, and they're awesome. They're really, really great people to work with. So I've had a really, really positive experience. So it's been a very pleasant surprise that has kind of come about these past couple months.
I mean, that first off is just an awesome story, but let it be known that Kayla got her start in radio and broadcasting on this show.
There we go.
she got her taste for it, and she had to go back. Exactly. That's the narrative that I'm going to run with. Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. Started here.
So, anything else on the team before we talk about the Columbus Fury?
I probably have rambled on about them enough. I love this group. Everybody that knows me knows that I love Pitt. It's been such a cool program to be a part of, and so just to watch like the Pitt program just do even better than when I was there, has been really, really cool. And they're great girls and they deserve all the success. And I'm really excited and nervous for this tournament to start, because now being a fan, oh my gosh, it's so nerve-wracking. It's so different. I don't like it. And it's so funny, like after all my games, like my parents and like Meech and like brothers and my grandparents, all my family, all my friends, everybody that watched, would always after games be like, oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted. Like that was so like that was so exhausting, and I'm stressed, and I would always be like, okay, like I get it, but like I was the one out there, like I was the one. And now that like I'm a fan, I hate it. You can't do anything. You're just stuck sitting there anxiously, like sweating. And I can't say that I prefer being a fan. I love playing 100% more. So it's tougher being a fan for sure. So I finally have, I feel like, gotten a taste of my own medicine.
So you heard it here first. It's tougher being a fan of a volleyball team than playing volleyball.
Yep.
No, I mean I agree. Like when I watch games, I'm like,
God, it's the
this is for all
worst.
sports. Like I'm a always like fuck with this is horrible. We're never coming back from this. But I'm a big like jump up and yell at the TV person. So it you have to find the creative outlet for
Yeah.
getting your heart rate down a little bit because
It
it gets bad.
it's so tough. It's so tough. And I've always also, going off of that, also been like, when I watch people who like are obsessed with let's just say NFL, like there's some really crazy fans out there that are like insane, next level. And I've always kind of been like, oh my, like, God, like they're just people, you guys. Like we're just people playing our little sports out here. And then you kind of become a fan, and you understand that like emotional roller coaster that you go on with your team, and then you kind of understand why people feel so passionately about athletes. But is so, which is good. I do think all athletes deserve that passion towards them. But now that I have to sit and sweat and watch a game and I can't do anything about it, I think that's where that creative outlet comes in, of fans then becoming like insane, crazy fans, because they're just like get overcome and they have no other place to be creative other than like face painting and the crazy outfits and like stuff like that, which I respect. But it is funny how my mindset has kind of shifted now.
Listen, the little people in your electronic box need to make you happy. Otherwise, it's going to ruin your entire weekend. It happened with the
Absolutely.
football team this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We're not going to go into that one.
Right.
No football.
Yikes.
So now, not only are you a fan, you're also playing again with the Columbus Fury, the first professional volleyball league in the United States. They're one of 7 teams in the Pro Volleyball Federation. And I think it was either our first show or our second show where we talked. I asked if you had the opportunity to play in the United States, would you take it? And you said yes, but there are no leagues right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my first question is, the first I heard of it was when I saw the announcement that you got signed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how long ago did you know that this was in the works, or they had interest in signing you or something like that?
So it's been in the works probably like publicly, or not, maybe not publicly, but at least for like volleyball players, for probably a year now, maybe a little bit more. But as far as it, like the behind the scenes stuff, I know that the owner of like the 2 owners who started this have honestly been working towards creating this league for like years and years and years. So I know that there has been a lot of work behind the scenes going on, but as like I think it became more real to us athletes. And I would say actually maybe even a little bit more than a year, but like I think we became aware of it like more than a year ago, but more seriously where girls started signing and committing was probably about a year ago, because I was overseas and on phone calls probably starting around like now through, I mean, I actually didn't sign until my announcement came probably a month after my signing, but I signed very late June, I think. I signed,
Okay.
which is crazy. I think I ended up signing and making this like life changing decision like a week before my wedding, which that was just a chaotic time to do that. I was stressed. But yeah, I think we probably all started jumping on like pretty much, I would call them recruiting phone calls, when you're starting to talk to pro coaches, overseas coaches, and then this league. And then there's one more other league that's starting next year. It's
Okay.
called I'm actually not quite sure what they're going with. It's like League One / Love. It's both. I don't know. I just don't know what the technical name of it is going to be. But
Would it be like a second tier league like they have overseas, or
no,
is it they're going to
they're
compete?
they're going to be competing, which
Ooh,
personally I don't love, because we can't even like sustain one league in America yet. So
right,
and
right.
now next year we're going to have two. So and they are directly competing with each other. So it'll be very interesting. I don't know how it's all going to go down. I don't know if like a lot of us who are doing this first one, if a lot of girls are going to plan on staying for next year, if they're going to switch. I have no idea. I think that they should have joined forces and like joined money and just made
Yeah.
one awesome huge league, but they didn't. So here we are. But
It also might end up happening. Like I
mhm,
think comparatively, or the only thing I can really compare it to, because there's not a lot of new leagues that appear
yeah,
in the states, all being very established. When you had like the off season football leagues, then they ended up merging.
yes.
Um, Obviously, I'm rooting for whatever league you're in. I'm a mercenary,
Thank you. Thank you.
but yeah. So like I said, Columbus Fury. Now, question is, I haven't looked into this too hard.
That's okay.
Are you gonna be playing games in Columbus, or is it gonna be like, so it is like a home arena league instead of like the lacrosse league that has all their games in like one spot or whatever?
Nope. So they're pretty much trying to make this league as similar to any other like already existing pro league. So like the NFL, like the NBA, WNBA, soccer, etc.
Mhm.
Um, so so for this first year, yeah, there's only 7 teams, which I think next year they already have signed teams.
Uh,
Publicly, sorry, publicly. Sorry, I also
publicly there are two. So
yeah,
we're gonna go with
sorry.
that number. Yeah, the
I also
seven
I
are
probably shouldn't even say that information, but it doesn't matter. Um, so that's what I've heard. I actually don't even know if that's official, but they're like in the works of getting it up to by next year. Yeah, publicly I think they've announced Kansas City and Dallas for next year.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I- I'll bleep the other numbers. We'll keep state secrets, state secrets. The 7 teams this year are your team, the Columbus Fury, the Atlanta Vibe, the Grand Rapids Rise, the Omaha Supernovas,
Mhm.
the Orlando Valkyries, the San Diego Mojo, and the Vegas Thrill. I'm just gonna put it out there. Your team is by far and away the best name.
Totally
I
agree. I don't quite know what's happening with the other names. They're kind of giving like cutesy, like not super fierce to me. But I,
Yeah.
I I don't know if they're just trying to like in today's age be like very appropriate and careful with team names, but I don't know, like pick an animal or something. Like I don't know. It's kind of funny. I 100% agree that the Columbus Fury sounds the best for sure.
If I had to rank them, Fury one, I think tied for second are the Supernovas and the Valkyries, because that can at least, like, Valkyries, you are an ancient warrior instilling fear in your enemies. Supernova is this like galactic
Yes.
phenomenon, and then like bottom tier, Vibe, Rise, Mojo, Thrill. Not
Totally
love them.
agree. Totally agree. They like I would not be very excited if that came out as like my announcement. I just think it sounds like a little like I don't know. I agree with you. Like I want something like fierce and like we're athletes. We're playing like a competitive sport. I don't want to be yeah. So that's funny that you said. A lot of people have said that as well. So it's kind of funny.
Apologies to Lane Van Buskirk, who is playing for the Vegas
Yeah.
Thrill.
Sorry, Lane. Thrill. Yeah, and I have and Lecators at Atlanta, and I have a couple other friends in the league. So whenever their names have come out, I've shoot like given them a quick text and just been like, really?
Yeah, did you vote on this? What?
Yeah, like, did you choose that one?
Last question here. Is it going to be on TV?
It will be. I don't know yet what they will be broadcasting on.
Let me see if I
Um,
can find out.
I don't think they've announced it yet either. That should have been a question when I actually was there a couple weeks ago. because a lot of people keep asking. I know at the very least that the games will be like live streamed. However, like
Okay.
they do need to be on TV if they want this league to do well, and if they want it to stick around, like they will have to find some kind of TV time. And they are 100% planning on it. I think it's just going to be like finding the
Finding
sponsorship
the
or
network.
whatever, however that works on that end, like making sure that it actually happens. At least a couple games. Like I don't think every single game needs to be on TV. There's going to be multiple games a weekend, so I don't think every single one needs to be on TV. But as long as like, I mean, one or two per weekend, like that would be really nice. So we hope so. But the plans as of right now that we have been told is that they are trying very hard for it to be on TV.
I mean, yeah, and if it's streaming on a website, that also makes it very accessible. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind it, but I agree that if you want the league to have staying
Mhm.
power in the states, and TV is king when it comes to
Yeah.
sports, you got to have that TV presence. And then, last question:
Mhm.
Joe Burrow and his family joined the ownership group. So, are you friends with Joe Burrow now?
Well, I'm friends with his parents now, so I feel like that's a step in the right direction. So when we had like a mini training camp, every single team and city, like they're doing a mini training camp before we have to be there in January. And so we did ours a couple weeks ago and it was awesome. And that's when they announced that Joe Burrow and his parents are joining it or going to be owners. So they did like a big press conference and things like that. And they came out and they are just like the sweetest parents. They're short, which doesn't make sense to me because Joe is a tall guy. I shouldn't say they're short, but they're like way shorter than Joe. And they're
Huh.
so nice. And they were very kind to us and they're super excited for us, which like they didn't feel, you always wonder like, if people who are like that famous and if your son is one of the best players like of our time, like what are you going to be like, as you're meeting like us little volleyball girls who are like trying to start our first league, like, and you literally own us, how are you going to kind of come and act like you're literally paying our salaries, like how are you going to treat us? And they were so awesome. They were very gracious and like I feel like they were very genuine and like actually excited and really wanting this to do well. So I can speak very highly of his parents. I unfortunately cannot speak highly of him yet, as I have not met him yet. However, his parents did say that he will be coming. At first, he was supposed to be coming once season ended, but now that he's hurt, which is very unfortunate. Sorry, Joe. We're hoping that maybe he'll like come earlier. But they did say that he would definitely come to a couple after season. Because honestly,
Right.
I feel like as long as he makes one appearance, like one, even like one social media post or like we're going to be good. I think like that'll get the fans involved. So one appearance would be huge, like for people and fans. And yeah, so it's super exciting. I'm really glad that they're going to be a part of it. And somebody with the name like of Joe Burrow is getting involved as well. Cause it's just huge for like women's sports and it's really cool. So I'm really excited and very grateful for them and their money.
Yeah. Yeah, having a name like that just associated with the league, especially team in his home state. Actually, the Wikipedia for the league says he owns a team in Omaha.
It's a
I'm gonna go
lie.
fix that later.
It's a lie.
Lies.
Lie. That was
Wikipedia
actually,
never lies.
yeah, that right. That was yeah. Wikipedia wrong. Never. That was a weird media mess up. So the Burrows did announce that they would be a part of the league. I think a
Mhm.
couple months ago, maybe more recently than that. But they never specifically said what team they were going to join with. And media just kind of like took it and ran with it and put that out.
Mhm.
And I think possibly also maybe on like our league side, I don't know if I don't think they fought against it because they were like, it's good media anyways. So So yeah, when that came out about the supernovas, now that is no longer true. It was never true, but they just put it out for putting it out. But yep, he's just with us, so we're very excited about that.
Yep, opening night, Wednesday, February 22nd, 7 p.m. at Nationwide Arena in Columbus. If you're in Pittsburgh, that's an easy drive. Done it a couple times, only 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Make the trip, have some fun.
Yep.
Before we wrap up here, I have to get my hands on the Dan Fisher era hype tape.
Oh yeah. Right, with me commentating, it's like a top secret video because they have it like hidden in like their YouTube file that you can only be like they only have access to. But they show it. I shouldn't say it's top secret. They show it to recruits, and they also show it at our camps during the summer. So if you want to be participate in our volleyball camps with like the young little girls and boys, then you can see it.
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah, 25-year-old.
Yeah. Maybe next summer you can join in with them. I'll get you your first pair of knee pads. It's just some shoes and knee pads.
I would get hit in the head so fast by like a 17-year-old. I would go home, just drive.
You'd be like, never mind. I'm good. I don't need the video that bad.
I want it, but within reasonable lengths to go get it. Yeah. I would say. Well.
No, I'm good. That was all I was going to say.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, this has been fantastic. It's always fun having you on. Do you have anything to plug before we get out of here?
All that I would plug would probably be my Instagram. That's what I use most. Kayla.Lund. Very easy. Yeah, if any fans ever hear this, I'm always open to chatting, like reaching out. If any girls like volleyball have volleyball questions, guys have volleyball questions, anything, I'm always here to help. But that would be it. Thanks. Oh, follow Columbus Fury. Follow along. If you're not following Pitt Volleyball, what are you doing?
Like, if you made it to the end of this episode and you're not following Pitt Volleyball yet,
crazy. So that would be all that I would have to plug. Thank you so much. This is always so much fun, and I appreciate all the support always. It means a lot to me, so thank you very much.
Listen, I went to one game, fell in love with the program. I would do anything to get the news out. I just have to say thank you for coming on. I reached out one day and you just said, hey, yeah, let's do this. It has been fun every single time. And honestly, pretty much at this point, you might be our volleyball correspondent. So you're welcome back on anytime. Yes. And listen, everyone, thanks for listening to the episode. Follow us on Twitter at Simple5Pod. Follow Kayla. Follow Columbus Fury. Follow Pitt Volleyball. And we'll see you next time.
Hail to Pitt.